Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney and Lucasfilm is looking quite expansive, not just with their movies, television series, but also their books, novels, comics, and video games. That's really all going to come together and make this new Star Wars universe for the fans around the world to enjoy. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that, yes, we do know that they are currently in a phase of desperation and damage control to really get the ball rolling again when it comes to the overall franchise. Again, their main goal is to really bring things up to the same exact level as the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not that they're necessarily competing with their own brand. They just want to have two successful franchises on their front here for the new Star Wars universe, and of course how Marvel's going to be treated in the near future as well. Now, everything related to Bob Iger and Bob Chapek, right? We do know that Iger is not going to be around forever. In fact, Iger is only going to be around until this November, where after that he's going to focus more so on the Marvel Cinematic Universe before he leaves Disney completely, handing the keys over to Bob Chapek for him to take control of Star Wars by himself. Now, what's really interesting about Bob Chapek is that this is a man that has really created his own legacy already by really kind of getting rid of the woke culture or the woke era of Star Wars and focusing more so on authentic material and really ridding of Kathleen Kennedy's leadership over at Lucasfilm for the most part and focusing away from Kathleen Kennedy's creative control and giving it over to George, John, and Dave. Now, with that being said, of course, what's really exciting all has to do with the overall future of the franchise. Now, with the Skywalker saga now over, both Disney and Lucasfilm are developing multiple plans in order to reunite the Star Wars fans around the world to create a better and brighter future for the Star Wars brand. Now, it's explained that recently Bob Iger and Bob Chapek have been making major changes behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm in order to make Star Wars as successful as it can be. Now, it's noted that, however, during and after the Rise of Skywalker premiere, many interviews were given to the creators of the sequel trilogy, as well as the actors, to which at one point in time, Disney CEO Bob Iger was questioned about Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. When Iger was questioned about Kennedy, Iger went on to reveal that Kennedy was having a very difficult time with the structure of Star Wars right around when Solo: A Star Wars Story released back in 2018 in the wake of The Last Jedi backlash by the fans that really all started back in December of 2017. Can you guys believe it's been that long already? I mean, it just flew by. Now, Bob Iger continued to state that Kennedy convinced him that the issue with the films was a frequency issue, and that Iger admits that Kennedy was wrong in that department, and that everything was not a frequency issue, and that they just needed to take a break and a step back to focus more so on George Lucas's style of Star Wars and what's best for the franchise. So once again, guys, we can see that Bob Iger obviously was put in a position where he was convinced by Kathleen Kennedy about certain things about Star Wars until realizing the truth by the Star Wars fans voicing their own opinions over the years. Further, Bob Iger continued to state that Kathleen Kennedy had tons of issues hiring the wrong people when it came to Star Wars writers and directors, and that ultimately cost Disney a bit of money, and of course by going over budget with some of the projects that were actually originally working on, and that this was the real reason that a majority of Kathleen Kennedy's films that were over 10 years worth of Star Wars projects at the time, after Solo: A Star Wars Story was cancelled. It was all because Kennedy wanted to go over budget, and that Iger was not feeling it for that direction after the failure of Solo: A Star Wars Story. So, once again, here we are in a situation where Bob Iger did not want Kathleen Kennedy to go over budget. Kennedy wanted to go over budget, and this was definitely the wrong decision by Kathleen Kennedy. If we think about it this way, right? Obviously, Kathleen Kennedy would have destroyed Star Wars, I think, permanently if all of those Star Wars stories were going to go over budget and ended up releasing and failed. If each and every project, or at least half of them, released and failed and were over budget, that really would have cost Disney, millions, if not billions of dollars. And if you think about it that way, Kathleen Kennedy should have been stripped of her power right then and there, right from the get-go, where, Iger realizes that, Kathleen Kennedy was not suited on a business level to handle Star Wars, and she isn't, in my opinion. I feel that she's done a very poor job on the marketing of Episode 9 and even The Last Jedi. Now, Bob Iger continued, to state that with The Rise of Skywalker, Kathleen Kennedy was the one who caused many of the production difficulties, since she was under such pressure from the fans after the release of The Last Jedi. Bob Iger went on to reveal that Kathleen Kennedy initiating many of the reshoots did in fact make Episode 9 go a bit over budget than originally planned, and is the main reason as to why they also took a step back on some of the films to focus on ways to make Star Wars back in line with the vision by George Lucas, and that the hiatus was his call, but was rooted all because of Kathleen Kennedy's work on The Rise of Skywalker and more. Now, Iger, also states that Kathleen Kennedy originally wanted to focus completely away from George Lucas, and that they now realize that this is not the path to go, and that they are going to be working closely with not just Lucas, but also Favreau and Filoni and others stepping on board to take care of the Star Wars franchise. Iger realizes that Star Wars needs to step their game up a bit in order to match themselves with the MCU is their main goal right now, in order to have the two massive successful franchises on their hands. Now, here's the thing about Bob Iger, is that for the longest time, Bob Iger seemed like a puppet, right? For a very long time, Iger seemed like he was being controlled by the strings of Kathleen Kennedy. And, well, it seems like that, yes, that was the case, because Iger reveals that he was convinced by Kennedy that a lot of issues with Star Wars movies is that it was a frequency issue, where in reality it wasn't. It was really just the fact that a lot of fans were very much tired of the overall direction of Disney Star Wars and what Disney and Lucasfilm were doing with the overall sequel trilogy, and what they were also doing with other projects out there. Such as the Kenobi TV series, and how it was originally supposed to be a movie, and how that was also cancelled and greenlit on and off, before it was pretty much transformed into a television series. And even once it was transformed into a television series, even at one point in time, Kathleen Kennedy called for rewrites, in which they did rewrite some of the material, and once Kennedy lost her creative control, they went under more rewrites. So you can see how not only that happened, but also the new Star Wars trilogy by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss was nixed, because they had creative differences with Kathleen Kennedy. It's just a mess. And I think that Iger finally came to his senses. He finally realized that, well, Kathleen Kennedy is a force of destruction. She really is. She's not suited for Star Wars. She's not the right person to really take control of the franchise. There's no doubt about that. And it was really a good call by Iger to just let things go. Of course, Chapek really was the one who really kind of made the realization settle in within Iger, to really realize that change needed to be made, and that they had to focus more so on Lucas, Favreau, and Filoni. We've got Season 3 next year, still on the right path, very excited for that. And we got the new Star Wars films, so there's a lot coming our way, and a lot of it has nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy. Thankfully, it seems like things are really starting to shape up for the Star Wars brand. A lot of fans are very excited about what's coming their way in the near future. And the last thing I just want to really point out here that's very important that a lot of fans need to know is that, thankfully, Kathleen Kennedy is only going to be working on the Leslie Headland Star Wars TV series. She's not going to be working on anything else. As of right now, she's only working on that one particular TV show for Disney Plus, which, mind you, I really do believe it's going to fail because of how they're focusing on agendas over the overall plot and or character development of that particular story, or the overall plot, if you will. So, like I've said before, I think that we really are heading in the right direction. There's a light at the end of the tunnel here for Star Wars, and things really are starting to get patched up by Lucas, Favreau, Filoni, and even Bob Chapek. I think he's going to be an excellent, CEO on his own starting next year. As of right now, he's being helped by Iger. Next year, he's going to be on his own. So, with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.